Hello, welcome back. I know we were going to do some discussions on some of the events that others have came up with as far as some of the potential events that they see potentially coming down the road. Um, I wanted to take a break from those and talk about snow and ice. We're getting into January now. This is the 10th of January. So there's talk about a lot of snow and ice that's coming. Right now we're in a grand solar minimum. Our weather is influenced more by the sun than by actual events here on Earth. It includes the CO2 aspects that we keep kind of talking about that uh, everybody's trying to get us to believe that climate's changing just because um, mankind is or humans are putting carbon dioxide in the air. We've talked about that. Um, as most of you know, my philosophy on that is yes, we need to be good stewards, but in the greater scheme of things, that is not what is causing our climate or our weather changes. The cause is actually from the sun. Um, Sunspots and stuff that we're seeing now are fewer. However, that does not reduce the risk that we face dealing with coronal mass injections and other events such as those, the CMEs. So I've almost finished my book, Self-Reliant Survival Book. It's a holistic approach to being survival. And as I was finishing up one of the final chapters on that, had to do with sanitation, which kind of led me down a rabbit hole that hadn't really thought about for a while. Uh, I probably haven't lived in an apartment since I was in college, so I hadn't really gave it much thought as to some of the risks and challenges that are associated with living in an apartment. This would also include condos, townhouses, and even duplexes. So, so some of the things that I wanted to discuss today, I want to discuss potentials for snow and ice, some of the dangers and risks associated with those things, and then some things that you can do that would be able to help you get through and deal with those types of challenges. For the most part, folks that live in the country are normally pretty self-reliant to a degree anyway. Um, Maybe not all of them, and we will address some of the risks and challenges, but the focus right now, I want to focus primarily on those who are living in town where things are a little more challenging and where you have a lot more people in one location. So um, there's a lot of chatter for this year about a lot of snow and ice events. Now, snow is bad. It can snarl traffic. It can keep you um, basically locked up for an extended period of time. I know coming from Indiana that you can get enough snow that it will pretty much shut down everything. In Indiana, we pretty much go to school every day, no matter what the snowfall record is. But in 78, 79, we did get a snowstorm that was actually shut down school. I think it was about a month or so before we could actually drive, my family could drive into town and go grocery shopping and stuff. Um, so it's possible to get enough snow that you will not be able to get to the store for at least a month. In some cases, even longer. So I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about, and more specifically, ice and the power grid system. And we're going to focus on the power grid quite extensively in this video. So ice has a problem. Or ice is a problem for multiples of reasons. One thing is ice can get onto power lines and trees and knock them down and knock out the power. So while snow typically doesn't take out power, it just kind of keeps you, like I said, locked up for an extended period of time. But ice can actually not only lock you up, it can also turn out the lights. And going a month or so in cold temperatures is extremely dangerous, especially if you are in an apartment, a condo, a townhouse, even include hotels and stuff, because people can get trapped in hotels. So some of the dangers that are associated with dealing with ice are the electric. With the electric, you can be electrocuted. A lot of places, include the apartment I live in now, our stoves are electric. There's no refrigeration. There's also no heat. So that's a problem, okay? If you have gas, which we do not have here, there's a chance of an asphyxiation, explosions, and fire, okay? So when there's no electricity, there's typically no water as well, which means hydration becomes an issue, cooking, bathing, sanitation kinds of things. But there's also no water to put out fires should a fire start. Okay, so that can be a challenge all in itself. Sewage, if there's no water or electric, then typically there's not going to be any sewage, which becomes a sanitation issue. And hygiene, but it also helps to increase vectors, bugs, rats, rodents, mice, etc., because they're going to be drawn to the sewage problem. And solid waste, meaning the trash that you create, waste, human waste that comes from the facilities. So all of these things are going to basically compound. And as I was working on that last chapter, I kind of got to thinking, it's like, so what is the timeline where these particular challenges will become or reach a critical mass in which things are really going to start going south fast? They're going to start to deteriorate fast. So with electric, there are some workarounds that you can get. You can get flashlights. Green Initiative is a company that does saltwater batteries. A good friend of mine that has that, and I will leave links to that his website in the comments below. So we can get batteries, we can get candles, we can get lanterns, all of these things, and help us to extend how far down that's going to become a critical mass. So basically in the business world, we talk that pushing it to the right. It's not going to reach a point quickly. It can become quick if you're not ready for it, though. So there are things that you can do, and we can kind of talk about some of those different things here a little bit later. Gas, the biggest problem with gas is asphyxiation, because if a pilot goes out, those things can release gas into the room, which would then asphyxiate somebody, but it can also become a fire hazard, because if there's gas in the room and you light a fire to cook or to heat, and you could cause an explosion. The other problem with gas is the carbon dioxide that it does put off as you cook it or as you burn it inside a closed space. That CO2 is going to dissipate the oxygen inside the air, so which again will lead to asphyxiation. So if you are burning a gas appliance or a gas item, you do need to have like a window cracked or something so that you can get some fresh air. Okay. Typically that's not a problem because we have the furnace, and the furnace circulates the air, pulls the CO2 out, and it all gets filtered. And when there's no furnace, that air circulation isn't occurring. Water can be pushed to the right by having a stockpile of water on hand, because again, especially in apartments, in city places, even in the country, if they have city water, water can become a problem because it won't work. There will be no water. So you're going to have to find resources that will enable you to extend that too. Now, ways to do that are having a stockpile, having bottled water, those big 5-gallon containers of water, whatever. You can also get water filters as long as there's like a spring or a creek or a river stream of some kind outside of your apartment, house, whatever. And you can extend that beyond that a little bit. If you don't have that, the water is going to become a problem fast. Okay, so the only solution to that is you're going to have to find some type of an outside water source. Okay, period. Now, and the good thing in the wintertime, if you have snow and ice, then you can collect the snow and ice, melt that, and then you can have water. So in the winter, if it is snowy or icy, it can also kind of be a benefit because you can, like I said, melt the snow and water. You may have to try to start collecting water from rain if it's enough to be icy but not cold enough for the water to actually freeze. Then you may have to, or to create snow, you may have to just collect rainwater. Okay. That is a possible water source. Again, you want to filter this. Sewage. Sewage is going to be a big problem fast. That's going to you're going to probably notice that within a day or so. So that's something that you're going to have to take care of and find a workaround fast. Now, one of the recommendations that I give, especially in the book for city folks, is to use the current commode that you have in the house, or commodes, depending on how many you have. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to remove the bolts from the seat, take the seat off, take a trash bag. Most of the ones from a kitchen trash can, the 13-gallon ones, should work. If you really want to make sure that that's not going to break or whatever, then you can get construction trash bags. And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to wrap that trash bag around the bowl of the toilet, okay? And then secure it using like duct tape, 100-mile-an-hour tape. On the back side, use a screwdriver to punch holes in that plastic bag, put the bolts back in, and then put the seat back on. So that's going to hold that trash bag over the toilet bowl, allowing you to utilize the facilities that you have within your house, apartment, condo, townhouse, whatever. I would recommend that you change those every day, no more than probably every other day for sanitation reasons and for smell. Now, one of the things that you can do to help overcome that smell is to burn candles within the bathroom, because essentially you're going to want the door closed if you're going to the bathroom. So that means it's going to be dark in there, because typically most bathrooms, or a lot of bathrooms, don't have windows to the outside. Some do, some don't. If you have a window, then you can open the window and allow the fresh air in to help extend the life of that bag. But you can also use candles to help cover or mask or eliminate the smell. There are some candles that will eliminate odors. Okay, so that would give you light, but it would also give you that cover that you need to help compensate for any potential smells coming from your toilet. And I realize this is like one of those not the most sexiest or enticing kinds of topics. It is a topic that is pretty important, because maintaining a clean, sanitized environment is crucial, especially in these times where you have a lot of stress. Your body may not be up to par as far as, eating right, exercising and stuff as you should. So you want to make sure that you do those things that will help you to get through these types of situations. Okay, so this is one way that you can get through there. Now, the long pole in the tent when it comes to being able to maintain this type of system for any length of time has to do with exactly the number of bags that you have in order to replace them in that toilet facility. So it's highly recommended that you get a good supply of trash bags so that you can keep this up for however long the event occurs. And we're going to get into some other stuff here just in a minute, and when we do, we'll talk about that too. But, the other one is the solid waste, the trash that you accumulate. Now, in apartments, condos, to a degree, townhouses, lesser degree perhaps, duplexes, it's going to depend on the number of people that's in there and how much trash that you actually accumulate. But it's going to really come to a critical mass, probably in an apartment in about a week, just depending on how big the apartment complex is. Larger apartment complexes, it may be faster than that. Okay, and the one that I live in right now, it's probably about a week. We would have a week before we would have to start to do something with our trash. So if an event occurs, snowstorm, whatever, we probably have a week before the trash gets to the point that it's going to become a problem. Okay. When it does, we will probably have to create some kind of a burn pit, and basically we'll have to burn the trash in order to keep that under control. Because the problem with trash, as we've stated before, is that's when you're going to start to get an increase of disease-carrying vectors, rats, mice, bugs, animals, etc. So by keeping the trash under control, by keeping our toilet sanitation under control, those are going to be things that's going to help us, because it's going to keep that problem minimized. Okay, so again, sanitation, the toilet facilities is the key thing. So if it extends beyond that, you're going to have to go outside and create a outside toilet somewhere. Now that's going to be a challenge, especially in and around apartments. Now, where we are, we actually have um, some wooded cleared lots beside us. So there is a potential that there are places that can be done. In some apartments, there is no place. There's basically asphalt and concrete. So those are going to be a little more challenging. Okay. So, and we'll discuss that a little bit more later. But what I wanted to focus on now um, is the power outage situation. So if that goes out, uh, you're not going to have communications with the outside world unless you've thought ahead and planned ahead, and you have radios with the batteries. And again, the Green Initiative is a good place. They're a good way to find batteries that you can extend the life basically with salt water. So, but still, you're going to have some kind of outside communication device. Being able to get to a store, even if you are able to get to the store, there are chances that the people who actually run the store will not be able to get there. Okay, so those are things that you're going to want to think about, and I would suggest for this particular event, I would have at least 1 to 2 months worth of food and water and resources on hand. Now, I know that can maybe be a challenge, especially if you live in an apartment, but you need to figure out some way to do that. Whether there's a storage facility that's nearby that you can use, using some of the space that's in your closets, because I know like in our kitchen, there's not a lot of cabinet space. There's no real pantry in there. So it is challenging, but there are ways that you can do it, and you just have to think it through. And if you need help, let us know. We will help you and discuss different options that you can use to work through that type of a scenario. So anyway, so snow and ice, there's a lot of issues that's associated with it. Not going to be able to go anywhere pretty much, especially if it's ice. You're going to have at least a month to 2 months worth of food in order to ensure that you have enough to get through this particular type of event. You need to have enough water to get through this event. If there's snow or ice, then you can use that. Again, you're going to want to melt it down, boil it, and filter it. You're also going to be competing with other people. So what I would recommend, especially if you have an apartment, a condo, townhouse, a hotel, that you create a group and that you put somebody in charge, and then they help to allocate resources to others. Okay, so those are things that you're going to want to think about, especially since we're getting into the winter time of the season right now. All of these things are things that we can potentially face that may cause problems. So again, if you need help with any of this, contact us. Let us know. We would be glad to help you. Our website is greatlivingsources.com. I'm on Facebook under GL Sky and also under Great Living Sources. My email address is guy@greatlivingsources.com. So let us know how we can help. Don't try to wing it on your own. Don't try to think of what you're going to do once the event occurs. When I lived in Atlanta, it was funny. Snow was mentioned in the forecast, and you couldn't buy a carton of eggs, a gallon of milk, or a loaf of bread within 1,000 miles of Atlanta, Georgia. So, and it's everywhere. I mean, Atlanta, I like to pick on. Not too fond of Georgia, but it's everywhere. And I never really quite understood that. I guess everybody's going to make French toast during the snowstorm. But you need to be ready. I can't emphasize that enough. Be ready, have a plan, know what you're going to do. Don't try to wing it once the event has happened. Okay, so I appreciate your stopping by. We look forward to talking with you again and discussing some of these things. And hopefully, if you need some help, you'll give us a call, let us know, or not give us a call, but contact us, and so we can set up a meeting. Typically, we meet on Skype. What I'll do is I'll set up a meeting so that we can sit and talk face to face, kind of, sort of, depending on where you are. But we can help with getting you the resources, the information that you need. So, all right. Well, thank you. My next briefing my next video is going to be talking about just had a brain lockup. The next one we're going to talk about is basically earthquakes and volcanoes and how to be ready for those. So thank you for stopping by, and remember the core of calm.